Hello, I'm Demi Utley, the founder here at Utley Strategies, and today I'm diving into a question that I'm asked a lot, which is, what tool should I be using for creating my proposals? Most people, when they ask me this question, they're worried that because they use something like Microsoft Word, they're missing out on some secret design capability that would help them to actually win more proposals. And the truth is that actually the vast majority of the companies who I work with are using Microsoft Word for their proposals. So if you're in that boat, don't worry, you are not alone. In today's video, however, I want to compare Microsoft Word with the other top design platform, which is Adobe InDesign, to see which one is a better fit for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we will start first with Adobe InDesign. So this is recognized as the leader for designing documents, and Adobe is, of course, the go-to for designers all around the world. So whether it's a proposal, a handbook, some sales document, or even an actual book, InDesign has been one of the go-to tools for designing for most of those documents. So companies choose to use InDesign for their proposals because it allows them to bring a little bit of an extra design touch to their proposals to really make their documents stand out. That being said, it does come with some drawbacks. So for using most Adobe products, including InDesign, there is a steep learning curve. So if you don't already have someone on your team who knows how to use it, you're probably going to have to train someone or hire a designer who can actually do that for you. It's also, if you do have people who know how to use it, then the licensing can get expensive quickly, depending on how many people you want to actually be designing your proposals. So in my opinion, the biggest drawback from a proposal perspective is that you can't actually write text in InDesign the way that you can in Word because it's not a word processor. So most of the time, if you're using InDesign as part of your design process, then you'll write your proposal in something else, often Microsoft Word or Google Doc or something like that. And then you take that and you move it over to the Adobe tool and actually design it within that. So that means that you are most likely designing at the very end of your proposal, and you're just kind of pulling everything together in that last stage. So because of that, you're going to have to make sure that you incorporate that into your overall timeline so that you have time to, spend a day or two, however long it takes to actually design your proposal in that platform. So just quickly summarize the pros and cons of using Adobe InDesign for your proposals. So up first, of course, it can create beautiful designs. That's what it's built for. It's easy to customize, and you can also actually create graphics within the tool in a way that you can't within Word. And because of this, you are less likely to have, giant images that you're pasting into your document, and it could have a slightly smaller file size than doing something in Word. Some cons are that the licenses can quickly get pretty expensive. It's not a standard tool, so a lot of people on your team most likely don't know how to use it unless they have a background in design. And you're unable to actively develop the content and write your proposal while you're designing, like in Word. So that being said, let's go ahead and just quickly touch on Microsoft Word. So while InDesign is, of course, a design leader, Microsoft Word is by far one of the most popular tools for creating proposals. Not just that, but almost everyone has used Microsoft Word at some point, whether it was in school, at your job, or something like that. Most people are familiar with the tool overall. And because of that, it makes it a lot easier to integrate it within your team. And Microsoft has a lot of features built within Word, so you can do a lot of different things from a design perspective to make your proposal really look good and stand out, and it can still be professional even if you're not using a design-specific tool. And because most companies are using Microsoft products in some capacity, you typically already have that license, and you don't need a special license for your proposal design. You can just use something that's already built into your budget, which makes it really easy to, get the funding to actually use this tool. I would say the biggest drawback of using Microsoft Word for proposals is that it's not a design tool, so you can't do some of the special things that you could do in Adobe InDesign. That means that it can be harder, but it's still not impossible to create designs that you would do within InDesign, but you can still create really good proposals using Microsoft Word. Like I said, that's the bulk of what the companies I work with use and the places that I've worked. So it's definitely possible. The other drawback I would say is that if you are adding a bunch of images, it can sometimes create a pretty big document, which might be hard to attach to emails and things like that. So that's just something that you'll have to keep in mind. Okay, so to quickly summarize using Microsoft Word for your proposals, so it's great because it is text-based, so you can actually obviously write your entire proposal within the document and design it at the same time. Most people on your team are likely to have a license and they've probably used it before, so that it's a little bit easier for them to start learning how to actually design the proposals as well. And also the other thing I would say is really big if you work with public sector agencies. If you're working on RFPs, sometimes they will specifically request that your proposal be sent back in Word. And if that's already a part of your process, when you do get those requests, it's going to be a lot easier to send something in that is well designed and looks good, versus if you're using another tool, then you're going to have to figure out how to do that in Word. So that I would say is definitely a pro if you are working with public sector agencies. Some cons are, of course, it's not a design tool, so you can't do as many things as you could in InDesign if you wanted to do any sort of advanced design, though I don't think that's necessarily needed a lot of times in proposals. And then I already mentioned this, but it can create a really large file size if you have a lot of images in it, so you'll have to be careful with how you're actually inserting them and what type of images you're adding to the document and things like that. And the other thing that I want to mention is if you have like a lot of forms or something like that you need to include with your proposal, then you'll actually need something like Adobe Acrobat Pro to integrate all of them together to create that final PDF. So it's just another add-on that you would need at the end. But that's fairly simple and not as expensive as InDesign. So for a lot of teams, this makes a bit more sense. So now that we've talked about both in a little bit more detail, the question is, which one is right for you? And of course, the answer is that it depends on your team, your goals, your skill set, and what you want to do at your organization. I personally have found that many organizations, including most of our clients, find that Microsoft Word does a really good job for what they needed to do for their proposals, and they're able to create proposals on deadlines and still have well-designed documents without having an extra license or the extra skill set that they would need for an Adobe product. On the other hand, of course, there are plenty of organizations who would never dream of designing in Microsoft Word. They want to use a fully designed tool for that, and for those, they will definitely choose something like Adobe InDesign. And if you, of course, have a dedicated designer who can help you with the designs, then that makes the choice a little bit easier. But if not, then I find that Microsoft Word often wins out. So if you're already using that, then you're already doing what a lot of companies are doing. But if you feel that your proposals aren't quite designed the way that you would want them to be and you want to improve your skill set, make sure you check out our Designing Proposals in Microsoft Word course, which is a beginner's course that introduces design and design concepts and then shows you how you can use those with specific features in Microsoft Word to make your proposals stronger. It shares everything that you need to know to create well-designed proposals that will better engage buyers and help you to stand out from the competition. So that's all that I had to share today. If you want more proposal tips, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.